they thought they were. The masterminds of your ruin drew every rumor like a diagram, placed every lie like a foundation stone. They believed that by dragging your name through the mud, they could bury you beneath it. But they forgot one undeniable truth: mud grows roots. While they schemed in the shadows, they watered the very soil that would birth your rise. And now, they're trapped inside the story they wrote only this time. They're the ones drowning in it. The traps they built for you, made of mirrors. And now those mirrors are shattering under their own reflection. You didn't win by striking back. You won by refusing to decay in the grave. They dug, they misjudged karma, disguised as consequence. Every lie they spoke now circles them like a vulture feeding on their comfort. What once was ridicule has turned to fear. What once was betrayal is now exposure. Psychology doesn't forgive, it reflects. And now they're staring at themselves through the very chaos they created. People forget. Thoughts are blueprints, and intent builds the walls. The destruction they wish for you lives in their own home now, scratching their peace, haunting their nights. You didn't need revenge. Their malice was their curse. They wanted to watch you shatter, but while they performed their drama, you were observing, recording, evolving. And there is no vengeance sharper than silent transformation. You grew where they thought you'd crumble. You became untouchable, unpredictable, unstoppable. And in that evolution, their empire collapsed. Not by your wrath, but by the weight of their own design. Now they're standing in the ruins, surrounded by consequences carrying their fingerprints. The script flipped because you stopped feeding their chaos. You didn't shout your innocence. You embodied it. And that truth became their exposure. Wordless, ruthless, poetic. It's mental warfare now. They can't comprehend how their trap became their prison. People forget energy doesn't die, it returns. And every ounce of venom they spat your way has come home to them, whispering in their dreams, choking their peace, reminding them they can't escape it. Made its move with precision, no warning, no mercy, just balance. Now every mirror they face shows them the monster they made, and every silence they once mocked echoes back their guilt. You didn't lift a finger. You didn't need to. Reality did what revenge never could. It revealed. While they replayed your pain for pleasure, you were rewriting your story, one quiet triumph at a time. That's what unsettles them. You became living proof that their version of you was a lie. The success they said you'd never touch now wraps itself around your every step, and they can't stand the sound of it. Their laughter faded, their certainty cracked. The universe didn't overlook your wounds, it archived them, waited, and then delivered justice in reflection form. Now, their nights are heavy. Sleep avoids them, because karma doesn't knock. It lingers. It breathes down their necks like unfinished sentences. Cold, precise, deserved. This isn't vengeance, it's restoration. The scales they once rigged now level themselves in silence. That's the ache they can't name. The realization that your quiet wasn't surrender. It was sentencing. You never needed rage to win. Your peace became the punishment. Your distance became the verdict. They wanted your destruction but got their own exposure. You didn't fall. You transcended. You became untouchable, incomparable, unrepeatable. That's the cruelty of growth. It mirrors everything they'll never be. Every step you take now rewrites their regrets, turns their arrogance into lessons. They made you their villain. You became their reflection. And now, the world they built on deceit is crumbling under the weight of its own echoes. It's not thunder that haunts them, it's silence. It's not karma's wrath, it's time's precision. Because time never forgets. It watched, it recorded, and now it collects debt by debt, moment by moment, until all that's left is truth. In their trembling fingers, every word unraveling under the weight of truth. You never needed to rewrite their story. You just let it play out. The ending they scripted for you became their reflection. And the irony is exquisite. You didn't seek revenge. You embodied consequence. Dressed in quiet resilience, you became everything they swore you couldn't be. The justice they mocked now wears your name. And the ghosts that haunt them wear their own. They sit in the very seats they once ruled, choking on the silence they once weaponized. You didn't crumble, you transformed. The pain they handed you became blueprints, the scars became maps. And now every step you take echoes like a verdict. They thought your silence was defeat. It was design. It was the moment you turned their cruelty into construction. You were never their victim, you were their creation's undoing. And now the game has reversed. Brutal, precise, unforgiving. They're living inside the curse they mocked, the illusion they thought they controlled. Every smirk they wore now tastes like ash. Every joke has turned into confession. You didn't lift the spell, you became one slow, inevitable, poetic. The energy they spilled returned, like gravity, pulling them into their own abyss. You watched, you waited, and now their reality is a requiem, written in their own hand. Every alliance is fracturing, every laugh echoes like a warning, every reflection screams the truth they buried. The curse was never external, it was seated in them. Words became roots, lies became vines, and now their own world chokes them with the harvest of what they planted. You stand apart, calm, clear, complete, not to forgive, but to witness, because the spiral wasn't chaos. It was architecture, and the collapse, inevitable. They try to patch the cracks, rewrite the scene, mend the script, but it's too late. The ink of consequence has dried. Their story is over. Yours has just begun, because a curse born from arrogance never fades with the wind. It festers, and when it finally blooms, every petal bleeds with their own deceit. You didn't hex them, they did it themselves. And now, the harder they run, the tighter the trap they built begins to close. Look at them, trying to erase the stains they painted, begging for mercy. They once mocked. They never asked for forgiveness. They demanded it. They never sought redemption. They denied it to you. They crafted the spell and laughed in triumph, but the curse found a new host, not you, but them. It lives now in their comfort, their bonds, their confidence, gnawing from within the seed they buried. And your silence now grows wild in their home, and with every move they make, they walk across the shards of their own deceit. They wanted you imprisoned. Instead, they became captives of their collapse. And while they claw at walls searching for release, you walk beyond calm, whole and undeniable, proof that curses don't fade. They evolve. Now they tremble at quiet rooms. They fear the hush, because silence speaks loudest. The same quiet they mocked in you has become their judge. You remember their laughter, sharp, cruel, circling you like vultures, mistaking your stillness for surrender. But you weren't still. You were watching, and now that silence stalks them. It doesn't shelter, it condemns. It hunts them through noise, through crowds, through restless nights. They fill their world with chatter, faces, distractions, yet nothing drowns the whisper of truth they buried alive. Their magic was never mystic. It was transactional, and now the dead has come due, interest paid in madness. What you endured wasn't betrayal, it was ceremony. They offered your pain as tribute to their false gods' pride, vanity, applause. They painted you as fragile just to polish their image. But every ritual births consequence. You weren't their victim, you were their mirror, and when you didn't shatter, their illusion did. They mocked the unseen until it breathed down their necks. They dismissed karma until it slept beside them. Every insult, every smirk, every wound they dealt now follows. Like a faithful hound, one they trained, one they can unchain. You never conjured anything. They built their own haunting. There's something divine about watching someone replay their downfall frame by frame. Unable to stop it, forced to taste the rot they planted. That's their life now, a theater of poetic justice. Every scene, every echo, every ghost is theirs. The audience, those who once clapped for your fall, now watch in silence. The applause is gone, the spotlight dimmed. There's no victory in crumbling beneath your own curse. Only irony, only truth. They called you cursed, but you were the reckoning. But the truest curse is living inside the wreckage of your own reflection. They look at you now not with envy, but with dread, because you didn't return as the villain they imagined. You came back as the consequence. And isn't it poetic how those who called themselves invincible are always the first to shatter when their illusion of power dissolves? They tried to poison your name, but now their own drips with rot. You never needed revenge. Your peace was the punishment. Your rebirth was the thunder that cracked their empire of lies. They fed on your silence, mistaking it for surrender. But silence is not emptiness. It's energy compressed, waiting to reshape everything once released. And when it did, it didn't whisper, it roared. Now their smiles look carved, their stories sound rehearsed. They didn't lose you, they lost the illusion they built around you. They thought mirrors would always flatter them, that no matter how venomous their actions, their reflection would remain untouched. But mirrors aren't loyal. They expose. No filters, no disguises, just truth. And now every reflection stares back as a stranger they can't love. That's the curse. Not thunder or shadow, but revelation, the horror of meeting their true self. Every pain they mocked in you now lives under their skin, pulsing through every breath. You didn't cast darkness on them. You simply endured it. And that endurance became a spell they can't undo. So let them squirm beneath the weight of their rituals. Let them drown in the echo of their own deceit. You don't need to speak. The universe already finished the story, and your name glows where theirs fades. You didn't rise to their level, you transcended it. While they stumble through broken lies and fractured pride, you've become the chapter they can't erase. They were the authors of their own undoing. Every inhale they take now rewrites the curse in their name, a truth they can't unlearn, a reflection they can't silence, a legacy born from the ashes of the one they tried to destroy. You, they once pictured you gasping, sinking beneath waves they created, not because you were weak, but because they needed you broken to feel whole. They turned your pain into performance, turns your downfall into entertainment. But the twist? They didn't just wish it, they invested in it, nurtured it, prayed to it. And in the end, it was their devotion to your destruction that summoned their own. Every smirk, every compliment laced with poison disguised as grace. And now, the portrait they painted for your ruin breathes just not in your world. The twisted masterpiece they created has chosen its true canvas. Them. Each dawn they wake to its reflection, haunted by the realization that the destruction they wish for you has moved into their own lives. They didn't curse you, they signed a confession. Every cruel intention was prophecy, and fate, in its merciless humor, made sure it found its rightful home. They whispered, let them fade, let them be unseen, and now, when they enter rooms, eyes slide past them like ghosts. Their words dissolve midair. The silence they built for you now devours them. They became the living echo of their own design. The betrayal they brewed has begun to stalk their intimacy. Friends vanish, lovers drift. Their spotlight collapses into shadow. That confidence they flaunted now hangs like tattered cloth, barely concealing the hollow underneath. They engineered your disappearance, but now they're haunted by the volume of their own regret. They prayed you'd be erased, forgotten, a broken symbol of failure. But you were never made to crumble for their satisfaction. You moved through darkness like it was familiar terrain, turning absence into armor. They mistook your quiet for defeat, not realizing it was evolution. And now, they wander the cages they built, tracing walls that shrink by the hour. Because what stares back from the mirror isn't triumph, it's consequence. Their downfall was not random, it was crafted. Every curse they tailored for you fit them better than they imagined. They celebrated your storms, mistaking the thunder for your ending. But while they danced in your rain, you became the lightning. And now the flood is theirs to drown in. You didn't summon their ruin, the balance restored itself. The misfortune they demanded for your name sits now at their table, uninvited but unmoving. Their reflection ages in panic, every wrinkle spelling return to sender. They thought darkness was a weapon to throw, not realizing it's a circle. What leaves your hands eventually meets your face. They aimed shadows at your flame, and now they lives suffocated beneath their own eclipse. The sympathy they begged the world to deny you has turned on them, and pity now wears their name. Shadows for you, but the darkness they crafted now wraps around their own existence. No one rushes to comfort them. The world watches in silence as they quietly come undone. Their collapse doesn't roar, it seeps. It's invisible, intimate, psychological. They meet the mirror and find not their face, but a version of you they once mocked. Only now, that reflection doesn't flinch. It stares back, unforgiving, unblinking. Your name, once their favorite punchline, now leaves their lips and whispers like a superstition. You, the ghost they accidentally summoned, the presence they tried to bury, now living inside their own reflection. What once fueled their ego now feeds their dread. Karma doesn't arrive with fireworks. It moves like mist, soft, silent, suffocating. Every corner of their life now hums with echoes of the pain they built for you. They can't trace when it began to crumble, but you can. You remember the laughter, the smirks, the moment they thought your suffering was entertainment. Now you move through life with the calm of someone who's seen justice bloom naturally. You never had to lift a finger, because existence, in its poetry, always restores symmetry. Their dreams, the ones they painted with your pain, now trap them in a loop of longing. Their confidence curdled into confusion. They meet the mirror, and recall it doesn't show features anymore. It shows corrosion, the slow rot of intention turned inward. Energy doesn't disappear, it transforms, and now it lives behind their eyes. Dull, haunted, echoing every cruelty they once celebrated. Their ruin doesn't wear your face that would be mercy. It wears their own, older and emptier, carved with regret. They can't cleanse. Every wrinkle is a receipt of the harm they mailed your way. You returned it unopened. Now they bear the cost. What they designed for you has become their inheritance, and that's the cruelest justice. Not sudden, not cinematic, but crawling, persistent. A vine of consequence wrapping tighter each day, choking their ambitions where they bloom. They wish you broken. Instead, they fracture alone, silently, and buried within that misery is truth. A brutal lesson in balance. When pain is offered and refused, it doesn't vanish, it rebounds. You never swung back. You simply stepped aside, and the weapon found its rightful hand. That's what scorches them now, your peace. Untouched, steady, sovereign. In their eyes, undeserved. But it was never about luck. You didn't win by accident. You endured long enough for the lie to implode. They spun their deceit like silk, smooth, glittering, and poisonous. Each word they spoke about you was dipped in envy, wrapped in elegance, and delivered as truth. They whispered to anyone who'd lend an ear that you failed, that you folded, that your dreams were too fragile to survive. They built fables from fragments, turned your scars into spectacles, and clapped for your suffering as if it were a show made for their amusement. Their comfort came from distortion, believing that tearing you down, somehow built them higher. But lies, no matter how polished, always rot their maker first. Those whispers they scattered like seeds have grown into roots that coil around their own walls. Lies don't stay put, they spread, they devour. You didn't have to tear their story apart, they crafted their own prison from words, and now the bars creak under their breath. Remember how they grinned when rumor replaced fact, when your pain became their favorite punchline? They called it truth, repeated it until it sounded real, until they could no longer tell the difference between fact and fiction. But reality doesn't bend forever. It snapped back with vengeance. Your ascent was louder than their whispers, more radiant than their shadows. Now, their lies linger in echo chambers, circling like ghosts that won't rest. Their dreams are haunted by receipts, by screenshots, by the evidence of their own fingerprints on every falsehood. Every time your name resurfaces, their pulse quickens, because your survival rewrote their script. The real truth doesn't fade, it waits, and when it rises, it burns through the paper. Thin illusions they built, their lies now choke them, seeping into their homes, their friendships, their reflections. They see themselves now, not as the heroes they once imagined, but as architects of deception. The guilt leaks through their smiles, trembling beneath rehearsed confidence. You don't need to expose them, their own behavior does. Lies demand loyalty, they demand performance, and the stage lights never turn off. You should see them now, panicking under the weight of their own invention, scrambling to stitch new stories as the old ones unravel. But the seams are too torn, the script too tattered. They drown in the sea they poured for you, gasping for air. That isn't poisoned by their own words. You didn't fight back. You didn't need to. You simply kept breathing, kept building, kept becoming, and that endurance was louder than their entire theater of deceit. Their lies no longer orbit you. They drag them down. Their empire of illusion is collapsing, quietly beneath its own gravity. You didn't destroy them. You just outlasted the performance. And here it is, the delicious symmetry of fate. The very lies they crafted as scaffolds for their ego have become the cracks in their foundation. Each falsehood, once polished and paraded, now hums like a warning beneath their feet. They believed slander would be a stepping stone, that your name in ruin would make theirs rise. But altitude built on fiction is air, thin, treacherous, impossible to breathe. And every time they falter, it's not the fall that hurts, it's the echo of their own footsteps leading them there. The jokes, the whispers, the smirks, they all return now, stripped of power, hollow as the applause of ghosts. Inside the gilded cage they forged from rumor, the air grows tight. They're gasping on the poison they exhaled so freely, haunted by the echo of their own invention.